I have great pleasure in introducing Mr. Ajit Singh to TiECon 2007. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ajit, it's a pleasure to have you. You are recognized as the subject matter expert in the role of IT in healthcare. What do you think is the current state of IT in healthcare?
Primitive. Yeah, so if you look at industries like banking who have invested in IT for a long period of time, for probably 20, 30 years at a rate that typically goes in the range of 5–10% of the revenue stream per year. Whereas if you look at healthcare, that number is between 0.5% and 1%. So healthcare has been very slow in adopting IT. The industry is very fragmented in healthcare. So there were lack of standards for a long time, a lot of small companies, lack of consolidation. So as a result, what we have is a mishmash of very large number of non-compatible approaches, non-compatible technologies, lack of standards. Now, there is a way out of this. And the way out of this is obviously if you take the basic premise, at the end of the day, what problem are you trying to solve? You're trying to make the workflow more efficient.
Absolutely.
So if you take that purpose in mind and say, I'm going to re-engineer my processes first and then use IT as an enabler, one can really get out of this. And I believe that last 5 years have seen quite a bit of progress in that. Siemens is obviously one of the companies that leads the pack. So if I could summarize, we need more investment in IT, clearly, but we also need more consolidation. The current fragmented approach is likely to create more of the same mess that we've seen in the last 20 years or so.
Absolutely. And what is the current market opportunities for IT then?
Immense. So, you heard in many of the presentations at TiE this morning that in essence, the efficiency of healthcare is extremely, poor would be an overstatement, but it deserves a lot of attention.
Absolutely.
And so you can bring a lot of inherent value back into the system if you can simply bring the productivity up, bring the efficiency higher. And there I think IT will play a very important role. I think what's going to happen is that we've gone from a layer of data to information, and where we need to go is knowledge. The availability of information has been more or less ensured.
And you need to
the availability of knowledge, that aggregation has not yet taken place. So I think knowledge is going to play a very important role in where healthcare IT goes in the next 10 years or so.
And where do you see the developing countries benefiting from it?
Oh, actually much more than the non-developing countries, because you have no legacy. What mars the IT infrastructure landscape in the United States, for instance, is there is so much fragmentation. A lot of these systems are legacy. They've been around for 20, 30 years. So much historical data has been stored in them, and the resistance to change is very high. A, it requires investment. B, it requires retraining in a very conservative industry to start with. And then the whole data migration effort is pretty tremendous. And if you don't have this legacy, you have a much more opportunity to actually leapfrog and overcome some of the barriers that overcome most of the barriers that many of the developed economies are facing. So I do see a lot of role for places like, for instance, India and China in both parts of the value chain, in creating these technologies, but also deploying these technologies ahead of some of the more Western developed healthcare economies.
And how long do you think, how long will it take?
See, it's a slow game, unfortunately. So it depends on where the current infrastructure is. When we talk of India, often we say the physical infrastructure is not so good, but the virtual infrastructure is quite good. Now, in healthcare, there's a strong interplay between the physical infrastructure and the virtual infrastructure. Right. So the two have to sort of, co-evolve. If one leapfrog the other, we don't have the inherent efficiency in the system is not going to come back up. Right. So now the physical infrastructure in healthcare in India still, or for that matter, any other developing economy, needs a lot of time. So I think to keep a healthy balance of the two is going to play a very important role.
Well, it sounds exciting, but one last question is, what is it that keeps you awake at night?
Talent. So this is an area where obviously a lot of intellectual capital needs to be deployed and very fast.
Okay.
And there is no shortcut to experience. There's no shortcut to domain knowledge.
That's right.
And because IT has been underinvested in healthcare, the domain knowledge is also sort of few and far between. There's some scanty, sparsely distributed knowledge. And for me, I think the biggest challenge, it doesn't keep me awake at night, but it's a great challenge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks
Pleasure.
for sharing your thought. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.